Hi, my name is Jess. Welcome to my channel. It has been approximately 7 months since I've seen y'all, since I've said hi, but I hope that everyone is doing well here. I just wanted to jump on here and do my 10 before the end because this will motivate me to read. I have not been reading. I've actually been slacking in a very, very big way, and that has kind of really correlated with me posting these YouTube videos, which is so funny. Like, I was reading a lot at the beginning of the year when I was doing this, and then during this like late spring, early summer, I really fell off. During the summer I picked back up for a little bit, and then right now I've been back on a downward spiral, mostly because I want to go to sleep at, I'm not kidding, 5 p.m. I get home from work 4:20, 4:30. I'm ready to go to bed within 30 minutes because it is so dark outside. Like right now, it's just a little bit past 6. Might as well be midnight. So anyways, I've been seeing a lot of people that I like to watch posting their 10 before the end. And I thought this is a really good way for me to try to pack in some books within this next month and a half. We're middle of November right now, and I have some books that I really want to get through and read. Some of these I actually need to read like in the next week and a half. I want to vote in the Goodreads Choice Awards, and the first round ends I think on the 23rd, and some of these books that I have on my 10 before the end just consequently are also on those nominee list. So I want to be able to vote in this round, and some of the rounds I only have like one book read, and I need to at least have one competitor for some of them, but that will be a whole different, we're not even going to open that can of worms. So we're actually going to go in no particular order of these 10 books, like no order in which I need to read them or want to read them, but just in the order that I thought of them. The irony of literally wanting, no way my Kindle is updating right now. Okay, anyways, while we wait on this, I guess we can, well, no, like my first 4 books are all on this stupid Kindle, so let's just have a quick word from our sponsors. So our quick word from our sponsors, we have none. But I will go ahead and do some free promotion here while my Kindle is updating. I have a podcast now. It's called the Cherry on Pop Podcast, hosted by me and my friend Haley. We talk about pop culture. We talk about what happened in our lives that week. It's kind of up in the air. We kind of talk about whatever we really want to right now. A lot of Dancing with the Stars and a lot of Stranger Things. So that's kind of what we're really locked into, and I'd love to hear what you guys are locked into over on our podcast, the Cherry on Pop Podcast. Found here on YouTube. I'll link it in the description down below. But anyways, looks like my Kindle is back up and running. So the first book, hello? So the first book on my list here, like I said, no particular order, just how my brain thought of them. This is actually an ARC that I received that I have not read, and it was honestly due months ago, and I'm just being very delinquent on it. I don't know why. I've just been really slacking. It is Heartstrings by Ivy Fairbanks. You can't see that probably, but Heartstrings by Ivy Fairbanks. It has a 3.64 rating on Goodreads, and for some reason on the Goodreads I am pulled up on the one that is in German, great, or Irish. Let's click a different version. So this is a sequel to the book Morbidly Yours by Ivy Fairbanks. I loved that story with Lark and Cal, and this is a interconnected standalone to that. They might not even be standalone, to be honest. This is just the sequel to that, and it is about Lark's best friend, maybe her cousin, named CeeLo or Lo, and her ex-boyfriend, her kind of lover turned ex-boyfriend. Now don't really know what's up in the air with Aiden. They met while they were in Ireland. She is in Ireland studying to be a doctor. She's going to med school there, and Aiden is from Ireland, and he's like in a band, and in order for his band to get up and going, he had to move to London, and when he did that, him and Lo broke up. And it really crushed her, and it, just all the horrible things that you could do. So he is back now in Galway because Lo and him are maid of honor and best man in a wedding at a beautiful weekend-long Irish castle wedding. So this is a second chance romance. I like a second chance romance personally. That kind of is my tea. Me and Dylan are a second chance romance. So I think that it just like, it resonates really well with me. So I am excited for this. I have started it. I don't know. I'm not very far, like maybe 6% or so into it, 5% of the way into it. So I'm going to read that before the end of the year. I just have to lock in, y'all. Please just make me lock in. Okay. The next book, actually, the way that I did these, a lot of them at the beginning are on Kindle. So next we have The Everlasting, and my art copy does not have a cover, but anyways, The Everlasting, I'll post its actual cover up on the screen, and that is by Alix Harrow, who has wrote quite a few other books that people talk about. Starling House is one of them. I've seen a lot of people talk about Starling House. So this book is a fantasy historical romance book. It is about a person whose her name is Sir Una Everlasting, and she was like this really great hero in their world. She was orphaned, she became a knight, she worked her way up, and she ended up ultimately dying for her king and country, and she lives on through folklores and legends and things that are passed on throughout this country. And centuries later, this failed soldier named Owen, he is a struggling scholar, and he falls in love with the tale of Una Everlasting. He falls in love with just how brave she was and everything that she did for this country. And her story takes him to war, it takes him to the archives, and then I think there's a time travel aspect because it says that it takes him into the past itself. So that's pretty crazy. And what I'm gathering from the bio on this is that they end up maybe meeting because it says that they become tangled in time and they're bound to tell the same story over and over and over again, no matter the cost. That's my worst nightmare. It's like, I guess, probably a sad story, like Orpheus and Eurydice vibes is what I'm feeling. And it says that the story always ends the same way. I guess it probably always ends with her dying for her country and the throne. And they want to rewrite her legend so they can tell a different story, but they have to actually go back and change things in the past. They do actually change history. And ultimately, I don't know, what are the repercussions of time travel in this universe? So it's sitting at a 4.47 stars on Goodreads. Not that many reviews, like 3,500. It did just come out. It did come out like last month, like 3 weeks ago. So it hasn't had a lot of time to build hype, but I am really, really interested just in the concept of it. I don't love when we're dual timelining, like going back and forth in time, but it sounds like this might be pretty linear, like they're time traveling, so themselves in the present are going back into the past, and I'm okay with that. I don't like it when we have like flashbacks. I don't love that. So The Everlasting by Alix Harrow sounds very, very interesting. It was another arc that I got that I obviously did not finish before published date, and I've got to read it. Next up, we actually have an audiobook arc that I have that was published the same day as The Everlasting, October 28th, that I have not gotten around to listening to. It is Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews. It's currently sitting at a 4.29 stars with almost 5,000 ratings, so really in a nice sweet spot. I think that this is a young adult novel that kind of leans more towards like fantasy goth horror, so that could be very scary for me. I'm kind of reading it after spooky season, and I'm going to be reading it when it's dark at 5 o'clock. So Evander, when he was a child, he was taken into a very large estate owned by a very reclusive billionaire named Byron Lennox Hall when he was just a little kid. And when he was taken in, the master of this house, his guardian, Byron, said that there were only 3 rules that he had to follow in order to live in this house. He can never leave the estate. Okay, that sounds horrible. Well, if it's beautiful, then maybe not. He can never go into the gardens. And most importantly, he can never again be left alone with Byron's charming and underachieving grandson, Laurie. So the last rule has been in place ever since Laurie tried to kill Evander just 7 years ago, and somehow Evander is still utterly and completely obsessed with him. I'm really looking forward to the young adult aspect of this because I don't know, I guess it's going to be enemies to lovers from what I can understand. And then also it says in the bio that Byron suddenly dies and Evander inherits Hazelthorn's big mansion and his acres of his grounds, along with the entirety of their family's wealth. So Evander left all of this to Evander, who he's not even related to, and like excluded his actual family from his estate. So that is going to be pretty, I think that will cause a lot of drama, obviously, within the family. It's going to cause like a, I guess maybe sort of like an inheritance game situation is kind of what I'm feeling from this. I haven't read inheritance games, but I do know the premise of it. And that's kind of what it's giving, just by the blurb itself. And it also, I guess this is where the horror aspect comes into it. It says it's very concerning how overgrown the garden is, and it refuses to stay behind its walls, slipping its vines and spores deeper into the house with each passing day. So they're really building the scene of this gothic, dark, overgrown, creepy estate mansion. Loving that. I'm actually loving that. That sounds good. So that's Hazelthorn by C.E. Drews that I'm going to listen to as an audiobook. The next book I actually do have physical, and this kind of is going to be at my high priority of reading, and that would be The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. It is of high priority because it is a library book. And I was supposed to return it last Saturday, and I called on Saturday and asked for it to be extended because I literally have not opened it in the 2.5 weeks that I've had it now. Even when I extended it on Saturday, this is Thursday, I still have not opened it. So I've got to get on reading The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This book came out earlier this year and like in the summer, and it is by the same author that wrote One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, which I was obsessed with. I loved those books. I don't know if this book is in the same world as the Two Twisted Crowns and One Dark Window, but this one is about a diviner or diviner. Her name is Sybil, and she's spent 9 years dreaming of having no dreams at all. So she gets, I guess, similar to visions in her dreams, and she receives them from the 6 unearthly figures known as omens. So I guess they kind of give them the future. She can predict terrible things when they occur, and lords and common folk alike travel all over the kingdom of Trom just so they can learn the futures through these diviners' dreams, or diviners. I don't really know how to say that. So just as her sister diviners are near the end of their service, a mysterious night, the Night and the Moth, shows up at the cathedral that they are living in just as they're ending their service, and he's a little rude. He's very handsome, and his name is Roderick, and he has no respect at all for Sybil's visions. He does not care about them at all. But whenever her fellow diviners start to vanish one by one, Roderick has no choice but to help Sybil to try to figure out what's going on. I've heard good things. It does have really good reviews, and it has a lot of reviews. So I don't know if that's people just like glazing Rachel Gillig, or if they really liked it. It could be either one, but I really do like her magic system and how she made it for the Shepherd King duology. So I feel like this one is probably going to be pretty fleshed out too, and I probably will really like it too. So that's The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Next up, we have a book. It is £5 at least. I'm like psyched to read it. Like, I'm excited to read it because there's been a lot of discourse about this book, but I am afraid because it is over 1,000 pages long, like more than 1,000 pages. It is Alchemised by SenLinYu. This is my book club's pick for this month. How we ended up with 1,000-page fantasy book, I'll never know, but this is the book that we have. I would love, I'm pretty locked into reading it. Like, I am interested in it because it started as a Germani fan fiction. It started as Manacled, and then they have obviously traditionally published it. The author had to go in, rewrite a ton of stuff, change everything, make the world building different, make the magic system a little different, change Hermione's character and the Draco character. But from what I have heard, people are either on I absolutely love this book or can't stand this book. So I am afraid of reading it because, well, it's so long and I have to read it in the next 2.5 weeks for my book club at the end of the month. And also I'm afraid that I'm not going to like it just because so many people that I know like it. And online, it was like a pretty fair split. So like, what if I fall into the category of not liking it also? That's just my dumb mind at work. So this is a dark fantasy debut about a woman who has missing memories, and she is fighting to survive this I can never say this term, war-torn world of necromancy and alchemy. And there's a guy tasked with unearthing the deepest secrets from her mind. So she doesn't know what's going on. He, I guess, if this is anything like the Harry Potter series and how they did a bunch of Germani fan fictions, most of the time in those, it is after Voldemort and he wins, and so the dark side prevails, and Draco goes, he's like at the top of the dark side, and then Hermione gets captured and they use her brain. You know, that's like kind of how most of these work. So I'm gonna guess that is kind of similar, because this is about a girl named Helena, and she was once a promising alchemist, now a prisoner of war and of her own mind, because obviously, like I said, she cannot remember, she doesn't know anything from her past, and her resistance allies and friends have been brutally murdered. Her abilities have been suppressed, and the world she knew has now been destroyed. In this book, I'm not kidding, it is like, I wish I could drop on the ground, but I would scare my dogs and they're asleep. It is freaking heavy. It is the size of a newborn baby, and I am into it. I just realized while I'm like looking through my list that I have a lot of fantasy books, but these are like, I guess, my priority reads. I have to read The Night and the Moth and Alchemized this month. So they're both pretty thick, which obviously Alchemized is way bigger, but these are my priority reads for the month. Next is a little bit of a sort of palette cleanser, I guess. I don't really know. I don't know if it's gonna be a palette cleanser, but it is My Friends by Fredrik Backman. My friend Avery gave me this book after she read it. She said she really liked it, and it is sitting at a 4.42 on Goodreads with 234,000 reviews. So obviously very well liked. This is on the Goodreads nominees for this year, so I'm interested in it. I read a different book by Fredrik Backman. It was a short story called The Answer Is No, and that's the only other book that I've read by him. It was really good. I liked it. I have some other of his books. I think I have Bear Town, and I also have A Man Named Uwe, or Uve. I haven't read either of those. I'm gonna do a shelf tour, and we can just go through the list, and I'll just say read. Actually, it'll be more like not read, because I would say out of all the books on my shelves, you cannot see them all. You just see this is my fantasy shelf, and on that fantasy shelf, I may have read half. Half is a stretch. Maybe like 40%. And then once we go over to like my romance, classical, more lit fic, those type of books, the number drops drastically. So I'm not buying any more books. I can't, because I've got to get through some of these books. Anyways, My Friends by Fredrik Backman. So this book is about 4 teenagers whose friendship creates a bond so powerful that it changes a complete stranger's life 25 years later. Most people, they don't even notice them. 3 tiny figures sitting at the end of a long pier on the corner of one of the most famous paintings in the world. Most people think it's just a deception of the sea, but Louisa, an aspiring artist herself, knows otherwise. She is determined to find out the story of these 3 enigmatic figures. 25 years earlier, in a distant seaside town, a group of teenagers find refuge from their bruising home lives by spending long summer days on an abandoned pier, telling silly jokes, sharing secrets, and committing small acts of rebellion. These lost souls find in each other a reason to get up each morning, a reason to dream, and a reason to... I'm gonna cry. This blurb is so beautifully written. Out of that summer emerges a transcendent work of art, a painting that will unexpectedly be placed into 18-year-old Louisa's care. She embarks on a surprise-filled cross-country journey to learn how Am I having a stroke? To learn how the painting came to be and decide what to do with it. Okay, this is probably gonna make me cry. Anything that talks about like the power of friendship. The power of friendship is going to get me every single time. My Friends by Fredrik Backman. On a totally different shift, on a whole different wavelength. I have another arc that I need to listen to. It is a book called A Short History of Ancient Rome. Okay, I was feeling really scholarly when I requested this book. I am interested in this brief or this short story of ancient Rome. It has 20 ratings, sitting at a 4.60. So the 20 people who have reviewed it, they like it. It is literally 1,000 years of history into a riveting and action-packed account of the inception, expansion, and ultimate fall of ancient Rome. What can I say? I watched Gladiator 2 last year. Loved Pedro Pascal and Paul Mescal, and obviously, of course I did. So when I saw this, I was like, you know what? Why not? Why not listen to an audiobook about ancient Rome? I mean, I love to watch stuff like that on YouTube. Sometimes when I'm just getting ready in the morning, I'll put on like Greek myths and mythologies, or the Odyssey explained, or this is how the Colosseum was built. Like, I love to put that kind of stuff on on YouTube. So why not listen to it in audiobook format? That will be a totally different vibe. I think it'll be probably a good palate cleanser to listen to, maybe between some of the fantasy books, just to get my brain on some totally different shift. So A Short History of Ancient Rome, that's by Pascal Hughes, and it was released actually last Tuesday, November 11th. So maybe give that one a read if you're interested in A Short History of Ancient Rome. Next up, we have a series that I'm trying to read slowly, which is hard to do considering that the books are YA romance books. YA romance books are pretty easy to read, and even this particular series is more juvenile feeling, and the font's pretty big, margin's pretty big. So that would be the second book in the Summer I Turned Pretty series. It's Not Summer Without You by Jenny Han. I have the Amazon Prime covers because I wanted to be able to look at the cast, mostly look at Chris Bryan as Conrad. So I have to read this. This is obviously correlates with season 2 of the show. And this is after, spoiler alert, if you have not watched The Summer I Turned Pretty and you want to watch The Summer I Turned Pretty and you don't want spoilers, I know that they're literally everywhere because the show finished up this year. But this is after Susanna dies, and it follows the summer. Obviously after that, I think Jeremiah graduates school. No, is that this one? Girl, don't give me a line. It's been a while since I watched season 2, but I'm interested in this book. I think it will be a nice, easy read. Probably I'll treat it as another palate cleanser, like The Short History of Ancient Rome. You know, those two books definitely go hand in hand as palate cleansers, but I'll probably read it maybe in between The Night and the Moth and Alchemised. But I really have I'm wasting time recording this video when I should be reading those two books. The Summer I Turned Pretty is so deeply embedded into my brain that it's really hard for me to take a step back and explain it without giving away totally everything. So I will just give you, if you haven't watched any of this or if you haven't read any of it and you want to, the first season in the first book follows a girl. She turns, I think, 16 that summer. Her name is Isabel, but she goes by Belly, and she spends the summer every summer with her mom's best friend and her 2 sons, who are just a bit older than her, at their beach house in Cousins Beach, which I'm guessing they filmed it in Wilmington, but I think it's more like supposed to be like the Maine beach, like Maine, the state of Maine, like Cape Cod maybe. And they go and they spend summer there every summer since she was a little baby. She spent every birthday there, and she has a thing for one of the brothers, Conrad. And that summer that she turned 16 is also the summer she turned pretty, and she starts getting all this attention from boys, including the other brother, Jeremiah. So it's a bunch of will they, won't they, why choose, who's she going to choose? You don't know. You really don't know for like the entire book series or the whole show series. So very up in the air. This book, the second book in the Summer I Turned Pretty series, It's Not Summer Without You, has a 3.74 rating with 704,000 reviews. Definitely our highest reviewed book. definitely the highest reviewed out of any of these. So that one will be a pretty quick read. Like, I think that I read the first book, The Summer I Turned Pretty, in an afternoon, like 4 hours, maybe even less. It was a very, very quick read. So 2 more books on this list. One of them I do have a physical copy of. However, it is outside. And as I've stated, it is dark outside and also very windy and kind of chilly. So I don't want to go out into my car to get it. But that book would be Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. This book is a nonfiction book, and it is about Bryan Stevenson himself as a young attorney when he's working with the Equal Justice Initiative, which is a nonprofit law firm that is in Alabama. And he is going through one of his cases that he works on. This book is about mass incarceration and like brutality within the justice system, which I find particularly interesting because I work in an attorney's office, actually a prosecutor's office. So I am really interested in what Bryan Stevenson has to say, because it is about a young Black guy who is sentenced to death, and he's from the same town that To Kill a Mockingbird was based off of. So it's a story about a young Black guy who is sentenced to death row because of the murder of a young white woman that he did not commit. Like, he didn't commit it. There's no way he could have committed it, but the police still advanced on and went on with this narrative behind him. And so I'm about maybe 30% of the way through the book, and it's making me pretty sick. Like, it's like making me so upset reading it, just reading how the public reacted, how the police reacted, how the attorneys are handling it. It just really makes me like so sad. It makes me so sad when I read it. So I have to be really, really careful about when I'm reading it. Like right now, like I need to read it early in the mornings. Like I need to wake up early before work and spend about 20 or 30 minutes a day reading it, because if I read it in the afternoon, I will be like, I'm gonna cry just talking about it. Like, I'm gonna be so sad because the darkness just kind of puts me in a depressed mood. So I'm really trying to push through Just Mercy, but it is making me like, it's making me feel sick. But that's Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. It's sitting at a 4.62 rating with 258,000 reviews. People rave about this book. A lot of content creators that I really trust, their book reviews and the things that they recommend, like Newly Nova, which is Lexi, and also Carrie Can Read. I absolutely adore them, and I think that they've both like recommended this book, and I've got to get through it. It talks about how the death penalty in America is a direct descendant of lynching, and this system, how it treats the rich, and the guilty better than the poor and the innocent. Like, what do you mean you treat the rich and the guilty better than the poor and the innocent? It literally does make me sick. The last book that I have on here, which I'm planning on reading this one definitely further into December, because it is Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey, a light contemporary Christmas holiday romance book. So this book is about a girl named Melody, and guess what her parents are? They're musicians, obviously. And she gets offered money to go reunite her mom's band live on TV. And when she gets there, the lead singer's son, whose name is Beat, B-E-A-T, Beat, like a beat, he's there. And he is completely Melody's opposite. Melody likes to be away from the spotlight. She restores old books, and she does not get anywhere close to the tabloids or anything. While he loves the camera loves him. He's very charming. They might have been best of friends if not for the legendary feud that broke up the band. When they met as teenagers, Mel, I guess that's what Melody goes by, felt an instant spark, and if nothing compares to the wild, intense attraction that builds as they embark on a madcap mission to convince their mothers to perform one last show. They deal with rock star shenanigans, a 24-hour film crew, brawling Santas, and mobs of adoring fans. I think this is about Melody finding herself emotionally, physically, sexually, probably. Because it's by Tessa Bailey, so it's probably pretty spicy. I am having a hard time. As I read this blurb, I remember that I wanted to read this last year. And as I read this blurb, I remember why I didn't read it. And it was because the main character's name were Melody and Beat. And I just thought that's just kind of overkill. Okay, Tessa Bailey. You went crazy on that one. So those are my 10 before the end. We'll just speed rapid fire back through them. Heartstrings by Ivy Fairbanks. The Everlasting by Alix E. Harrow. Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Alchemised by SenLinYu. My Friends by Fredrik Backman. A Short History of Ancient Rome by Pascal Hughes. It's Not Summer Without You by Jenny Han. Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. And Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. So very much looking forward to those books. I know I say that probably after every book. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really interested in it. What more can I say? Vocabulary little. Okay, that's all I got. So thank you guys for joining me on this long awaited YouTube video. I hope that you stuck around. Have a great day. I love you guys. Goodbye.